Hello. Today I'm going to read you a book by Garry and Garry Parsons called Billy's Bucket. Now, Billy's Bucket is a bit of a favourite of mine, and as a result I thought it was very much the sort of book one should wear a cowboy hat for. So this isn't my cowboy hat, it belongs to my friend Clint, or in fact it belongs to Clint's father, who used it on his range. It's the real deal. But if you're reading a book about a boy called Billy and his bucket, I think you've really got to have a cowboy hat on to do it justice. So, Billy's Bucket by Garry and Garry Parsons. "Can I have a bucket for my birthday?" asked Billy. Billy's dad looked up from his newspaper. "A bucket? You don't want a bucket for your birthday. Nobody has buckets for their birthday." "Why don't they?" asked Billy. "Because, Billy," explained his mother, buckets are far too buckety to be a birthday present." But Billy would not be persuaded. "Please, can I have a bucket?" he asked. "Have a bike," said his father. "Or some new trainers," said his mum. "Or a computer game." "I want a bucket," said Billy. All right, sighed Billy's father. "You can have a bucket for your birthday." "Yippee!" cried Billy. The next day, Billy and his mum went to Buckets R Us. There were buckets of buckets at Buckets R Us. Look at them all. Look at all those buckets. There were rubber buckets, plastic buckets, metal buckets, garden buckets. There were farm buckets and builders' buckets. There were seaside buckets. There were even football buckets. Billy's mum and dad followed Billy up and down every single aisle. "What sort of bucket are you looking for?" they asked. "I don't know," said Billy, "but I'll know it when I see it." Billy looked long and hard at every bucket, on every single shelf. "There it is!" he called excitedly. "That's the one I want! Right up there! 19 shelves up, 78 from the left." Billy's mum and dad went and got someone to help them. "They all look the same to me," said the shop assistant. "No, that one is special," said Billy excitedly. When Billy got home, he ran straight into the kitchen and filled his bucket with water. "Wow," said Billy, peering inside his bucket. "I can see a rock pool with crabs and seaweed and little shrimpy things." "Of course you can, Billy," said his father. "Wowee," said Billy. "I just saw a shark." "Of course you can, Billy," laughed his mum. "Guess what I've seen now," said Billy, sitting down for his birthday tea. "I've seen a stingray and some clownfish and a whole shoal of barracuda, and I think I might have seen a mermaid, but it could have been a big herring." "Of course you have, Billy," laughed his dad. Billy carried his bucket into the lounge. "What's in your bucket at the moment?" chuckled his dad. "2 submarines and a pilchard," said Billy. "What's in your bucket now, Billy?" giggled his mum. "7 sea lions and a walrus," said Billy. "Of course there are, Billy," laughed his parents. Billy was still staring into his bucket at bedtime. Billy's dad nudged his mum and said, "Billy, is it all right if we borrow your bucket to mix up some wallpaper paste tomorrow?" Billy looked up from his bucket and frowned. "No, it isn't. There are dolphins in my bucket at the moment. You must never borrow my bucket." Billy's mum waited a few moments and winked at her husband. "Billy, is it all right if we borrow your bucket for watering the roses tomorrow?" Billy looked up from his bucket and shook his head. "There are 2 scuba divers in my bucket at the moment. You must never, ever borrow my bucket." Billy's dad chuckled to himself and waited for a few more moments. "Billy, is it all right if I borrow your bucket to clean the car tomorrow?" he asked. Billy looked up from his bucket again and sighed. "No, it is not all right. There is a coral reef in my bucket at the moment, and you must never, ever, ever borrow my bucket." "What an imagination," laughed Billy's mum and dad. "Time for bed." Billy put his bucket away and went upstairs. "Thanks for a lovely birthday," he said, "and the best present in the world." When Billy woke up the next morning, he got dressed quickly and ran downstairs to play with his bucket. But it wasn't there. "I told you not to borrow my bucket," said Billy. It took Billy's mum and dad 6 hours, 3 fire engines, 4 cranes, and a shoehorn to get the whale back into the bucket. And they never borrowed Billy's bucket again. That was Billy's Bucket by Kes Gray and Garry Parsons. And I think you'll agree, very much the sort of book that one has to wear a cowboy hat for. See you soon.